Hey everyone, welcome back to the Handmade Homestead. I'm Angela Allen and I am just in from the garden. Now I don't know about you, but it is the day before Thanksgiving here and we are still gathering food to eat from the garden. So let's see what I have for today. These are just volunteer cabbages. You know how you cut the head off your cabbage and leave the plant and you'll get some side cabbages? Well, I got a bunch of these little side cabbages. They're little, but they're kind of like a big Brussels sprout. Found a couple of golden beets, a lone carrot. It's small, but I'll throw it in something. And this is a bunch of celery. My celery still hasn't frozen yet. I've been covering it on super cold nights, but it's fine. And then down here at the very bottom, there's a bunch of these little teeny volunteer broccolis. You know, the main heads are cut off, but the plants had set up some shoots. So I cut those, pulled out the plants, gave those to my chicken, gave my chickens the rest of the cabbage. And my husband and I went out there and we cleaned up the garden some more, covered the Swiss chard, covered some of the kale, but not all of it. Covered the next batch of carrots that are out there. So I still have plenty to eat in the garden. Let's go out and take a look and I'll show you. So on the way out there, I'm going to make a quick little stop here and show you my two little greenhouses I've set up in my sunroom to grow greens over the winter, and I want you to see how good everything's doing. Alright, so this is that one on the right. So those are spinach and arugula. These are all bok choy, which you can see how great they're doing. These are all microgreens. It smells like radishes in this little greenhouse area because of the microgreens, and then below it, those are bulb radishes. This is the next tray of microgreens. You can see they're just starting to sprout. And then down here we have another tray, again, just starting to sprout. So those will be the next trays we eat when this tray is gone. And let's look at the one next to it. Okay, little greenhouse number 2. This is arugula going this way. These are more arugula, some winter chai, some mustard greens, and way in the back there, those are kale plants. If I tip it like this, maybe you can see them better. Way in the back there, those are kale, red Russian kale, or ragged jack. It's my favorite. These are pea shoots. We have harvested these for a few weeks now. As you can see, the ones I cut off, but new ones keep sprouting up. When these get a little taller, we'll cut these. And I think that'll be the end for this tray, but I have the next tray already started, and I think it's probably good enough. So this, I planted the seeds, I put newspaper on it and wet it. Pea pods like to sprout in the dark. As you can see, they're sprouting really well, but there's no green kind of starting yet on any of them. We're going to give these another day or two before we pull off this wet newspaper, but that's okay. The water and the moisture and the heat from having this on will help. That is a mint plant. Mint is my favorite tea, so I keep a mint plant in all year long. Okay. There's still things in my green stock. There's kale and lettuce and more kale over there and lots of herbs in there, and we're still using that because it hasn't frozen. And the other one over here, again, you can see this is a beet. Has some stuff in it. Some seeds I'm drying on top. So again, still using stuff in the green stalks. If I go outside and look the other way, you'll be able to see there's a strawberry here too. Look at that. They do turn ripe and we do get a few still. It just amuses me, but hey, you know, I'll take what I can get. A beautiful sunny day. It's probably almost 60 out here, almost, which is rare for Rhode Island. The day before Thanksgiving, and we are expecting a rainstorm tomorrow, but for now it's just crazy beautiful. These are New Dawn roses. I have them in the front of my garden. I've pruned them back a little bit, but this one I still need to wrap these leaders around the side. I want the roses to go that way. This is my asparagus bed. It's obviously been put to bed for the winter. It is heavily mulched. I put that in a couple years ago. We were able to harvest a little bit this year, but not a lot. But this year coming up, this next springtime, we should be having plenty of asparagus. So I'm very excited about that. The gardens behind here need a reset, but if you look this way straight down, that greenery you see there, that is garlic. There's 2 areas of garlic right there. I have a video about that, and if you look back, you'll see me planting garlic there a couple of months ago. All right, let's take a walk in the garden, and we will just take a look at what's going on in here. There's still food to eat, even right before Thanksgiving. It's funny, but it's been so mild, uncharacteristically mild for us. But these are things that would still be in anyway, even if it was a regular cold November. So let's go in and take a look. Started pruning fruit trees, but I haven't gotten very far. I've started just cutting back the bigger branches on cold days, but it really hasn't been cold enough. So let's start at this end. So this is a 2 kind of apple. It is a Cortland and a Macintosh. It does look like it may have canker, which I'm not thrilled about, but not much I can do about it. I'm treating it. We'll see how long the tree lives. This one, again, is an apple. It's Macintosh and Spartan. This is an Alberta peach. This is a Red Haven peach. I don't know if you can get the scale of that tree. I try to keep them very low to pick. And the very last one is a really nice pear tree. It does have 4 kinds of pears on it. If I had to do it all over again, I would not plant any of these trees except for that peach tree. That peach tree right there is a Red Haven peach. It had maybe 200 peaches on it, 300 peaches on it this spring. Then it had a heavy peach drop because the weather was a problem. And then the squirrels ate a bunch of them. So we didn't get any this year. The year before, we didn't even have blossoms. But the year before that, we got great, big, really delicious peaches. So I'm hoping this spring things will be better. But you can see how well that tree has grown. That tree, the 2 apple trees and the pear tree are all the same age. This one is a year younger. So these are maybe 4 years old. And I bought them as 6-foot trees from, let me think, fastgrowingtrees.com. We were really happy with all of the trees, and I bought other trees from them too, but those are the fruit trees I have in my garden area. My intention is to keep them all about the size of this apple, which is under 6 feet tall. Okay, so we're gonna go right. This is the garlic that I planted. I have a video, like I said, about that. You can go back and see that. And this year, when I planted out this front bed, let me see if I can show it to you. I'm kind of in the sunlight, so hopefully my camera's not all over the place. And that front bed, I mulched them with organic chopped straw and did not, for the life of me, stop to think it would be full of seeds. Well, it was full of seeds. And as you can see, these 2 beds are now full of grass. So they're gonna have to be reset. And how I reset a bed is like this. I'm a no-dig gardener as much as possible. I put down cardboard and then I cover it with mulch. So we've just started to do this bed, and heaven forbid I ran out of cardboard because I put another new bed in out in the front yard recently. Used up whatever cardboard I had saved, and I try not to buy a lot at the store. So there we go. I ran out. I got to get some more cardboard to put mulch down on it. That is mulch, not compost. But I have 3 big compost beds right back there. It's in the shadow, but there you can see one of the pallets. There's 3 4x4x4 compost piles. We probably make 5 or 6 or 7 yards of compost for this garden every year. I'm going to do a pan of our yard so you can kind of see. We have gardens over there going down the fence line. I have rhubarb first, figs for half of it, blackberries for the other half, and that very far corner back there where that little pine tree is and the little bird bath, that is where I grow mint and Egyptian walking onions. I have Egyptian walking onions kind of all over the yard, but I grow apple mint and orange mint there, my 2 favorite tea mints, but I don't want them all over my garden, so that's where they live. If they overgrow that space and they grow out of it, we just take the string trimmer or the lawnmower and we mow it down. I do have a place in the front yard that has mint too, but it's also a bed that's away from everything else, just has some hydrangea plants and some forsythia bushes, so I don't have to worry about that going all over my yard either. So this yard, when we started, there's the compost bins. They need a little work. They've had a hard summer, and I have a work table here, and on the other side of it I have a Jadam fertilizer tank. I know you guys have seen that before. This big gate, that whole piece of metal opens right there. That's how we drive the lawnmower in and out. I'm standing with my back to the shed, so that's where the lawnmower's living. So these are my gardens. There's an arch. It goes around the fruit tree row, and those little bags on the end, I usually put like a zucchini or something here, and flowers and zinnia flowers, and then comes my beds coming around. Now I have gardening space in the front, and I have gardening space over by the back door too, and all together we have about 3,000 square feet, but all of that doesn't actually have food growing in it. Some has flowers, some are the rows in the garden. When we started this, and I'll try to put a picture in here for you to see, this was literally lawn, just like that lawn, just really thick, lush green grass, and then there were 2 trees planted right on this side where the fence is. 2 trees planted there, just scrap trees that had come up years and years. One was a pine tree. They were in really bad condition. We removed those, first off, removed those trees. We put this shed in that's behind me, and started blocking off a space for this garden. We do have a septic field, and that's over there, so that's why the garden is on this side. Plus it's sunnier over here. And then the next thing we did is we fenced. We put up this cedar fencing. It goes around the back and around the front, all the way around. You can see it. It's one big circle of fence. And there are gates, big gate here, big double gate here. You could drive a truck through that. And then a gate here, and then there's a gate on the other side of the deck over there, going that way to the front yard. And we did that because we have a really big, we have a 160-pound bull mastiff. We have a little 5-pound chihuahua, but we want to be able to let the dogs out safely. There are a lot of coyotes here, and we do have chickens. There's a chicken coop right there. It's made to hold 8 chickens. I usually like to keep 5. I do have 8 at the moment. There's a little outside pen outside there. They're almost never in that. See, the door's open. There's a chicken going in and out of it right now. That is because in an emergency, or if somebody's coming into the yard for some reason, we just herd the chickens back into the outside pen and close the door. And it's big enough for them to be in there for a few hours. If the weather's really bad, we might let them in and out through there to give them extra treats or whatever. But they're never in there unless that is the case. Like, they have the entire yard, just not the garden, this garden, to be in. And there's like a little herb garden just below at the end of that stairs right there. There's a little herb garden at where those bricks you see right there. I keep a rain barrel on top of that. Right behind it is the septic tank cover. So that whole garden was just kind of destroyed. But I'm going to wait till spring. It's just some perennial herbs, echinacea. There's a rose bush, lemon balm, Egyptian walking onions, and some other herbs in there, but I'm not really worried about that. So again, this is my garden, and there's a little bit still growing. Like I said, the garlic is down there. That garlic is just for next year, and there's 2 areas of it. And then this part of the garden, we can just go row by row if you want. I don't want to make this video too long for you to get too bored. I usually grow peas on this trellis, so I keep the trellis year round. I usually will grow like beets or string beans in the bottom front of it. That is Swiss chard. It's covered because we will keep eating it all winter long. There's Swiss chard here. Bright light Swiss chard is my favorite. Underneath, there's also on this side of it, bronze fennel. That's just a kale plant. It was a volunteer because I put kale there last year or the year before, and I just left it. Onions. And then there's nothing here now coming up on this trellis. I usually grow tramoncino or pumpkins or some kind of squash on this trellis. And in here, usually herbs, maybe a few sunflowers. Again, those are garlic over there. You see the green coming up. and this is just wood chips under the trees. So here we go. So this is another row. I'm standing with my back to in this trellis. You can see our little garden shed. This row I didn't plant this year. I don't know why, but I'm thinking next year of moving this row in and getting rid of this row. I haven't decided, making this bigger. Usually we plant tomatoes on here. This is at that end. Those are green onions. Again, we are still eating them, and I eat them more than these. I don't know why. I've been cutting them, putting them in the freezer too. We use them a lot. I don't eat bulb onions. I have an intolerance for them, almost like a food allergy, but I can eat green onions, so I grow lots of them. So right in here, usually this is a tomato row. I grow a trellis of green beans here usually. And then this row here, I do, this just had rutabagas. I just pulled them all up. And usually there's a tomato plant or some beans or something at that end. I usually do tomatoes along this side of this fence. What you see covered right there are carrots. They're doing really well, so there they live. And then all the way down, this trellis usually has tomatoes. And I put anywhere between, I don't know, 45 and 25 tomato plants. Depends on how many tomato products I have left on my shelf when gardening season begins again. It's usually not a lot, so I end up planting a lot of tomatoes. I think last year I planted 13 kinds of tomatoes, somewhere around 40 plants. All right, so I'm down here with my back to the shed again. I was just standing right up there where that black bag is down there. I usually plant melons or zucchini in these bags that you see, these black bags. But like I said, this row usually has tomatoes planted on this side of it all the way up. And it is quite a long row. These are 16-foot panels, and there are two of them side by side. So that's about 30 plus feet. There's a little walkway in between where you can walk from that side to this side. So other than that, so it's almost 30 feet of tomato space. And then this is another 16 feet of tomato space on this side. But sometimes I will throw in something else, like some kind of climbing squash or something here or there, just for some diversity. This side of this bed, I usually grow okra if I'm going to grow okra, which isn't very common. We're not big okra fans, I hate to say, but we're not. This year I planted some zucchini in here, parsnips, carrots, most of this bed with carrots, and at the very end of the bed, before you get to that white little tunnel there, that's this year's kale. Now I just planted that in the fall, so it's really literally baby kale. That will take us through the winter. We will eat that fresh. We have plenty in our freezer, but that will eat fresh as a fresh green. Plus you saw how many fresh green flats of fresh greens I have growing inside. So we have plenty of greens to eat. This has all been reset. It's been mulched. I could put some more leaves on it, but that kale has been mulched too, just to protect it for the winter. And then we go this way. This bed against the back fence, that was all Tulsi basil this year and a little bit of spinach and some kale, and we just pulled it all out and just reset it. We just did that today, Mike and I. This very sad row right here, and it's perfectly fine if you'd like to laugh at me. This is purple sprouting broccoli. I planted it. It's supposed to be out in the garden over the winter. It's supposed to come back in March and produce usable broccoli in March or April. It's supposed to get quite tall and quite beautiful, and it was doing brilliantly. But again, the little bunny saboteur that I keep talking about has been eating it, and I can't be too mad about that. It's that time of year, bunny's hungry, but it is kind of coming back in the center, so I decided to just leave it, and we'll put some more mulch on it. We just started to throw some mulch on it today. Hopefully these will recover and survive the winter. It's really more of an experiment for me to see if the plant will actually survive the winter. I don't know if it will in my climate, so I want to give it a try. And if it does well, then next year, this fall, when I plant it, I will plant it with some covering, maybe a tall hoop system or something to keep the bunnies from bothering it. But in the meantime, let's just see if the plants survive this year. I'm not big on growing broccoli in the garden. I do sometimes, but I am not into having little cabbage worms in my broccoli. So sometimes I just buy organic frozen. So there we go. That's my story about those, but we're going to see how it goes, and you can watch that with me. You can see it there. They're already starting to kind of bounce back a little bit. It's crazy. This is celery. It's hard to tell because Mike just threw some leaves over it. If I do this, you can see. Now, celery likes cool weather to sprout. I mean, to get for the seeds to sprout, but it doesn't like to be cold. So I'm surprised it's even still there. We've had some nights down in the very, very low 30s, but it can live there as long as it's living there. And that right next to it, that's actually just Swiss chard. We just left it. I don't care what happens to it because, again, right over there, I have a whole big row of it, and I have tons, literally tons and tons of greens, kale and Swiss chard and broccoli greens and turnip greens and mustard greens in my freezer already that I can use to cook. So these are just for fresh eating and just to complement what I'm already growing in the house in my little greenhouse setup. Now, this is my very sad bench. That's all squished down. Now, I had beans growing on here. And this bench, we were supposed to throw it away last year, but I thought I could get another year out of it. I have a cushion that goes on it. It looks really cute. And some throw pillows. And when this is covered over with beans, this whole thing looks super sweet. But harvesting beans and me standing on it has dented the pipe in the front, and like I said, it's already trash. So next year I think I'm just going to build a concrete block pressure treated lumber bench that will just stay there year round, that will fit the space end to end and will be safer to stand on. But for now we're just going to leave it there. All right, now here's something really kind of funny. This is the back half of my garden. So back here there's a bunch of bags. I think there's 5 of them. I'm trying to count them from here. I think there's 4 now. There used to be 5. That's where I go sweet potatoes. They do really well out there. It's very sunny most of the time in the summer up here too. This is a row of blackberries. Now I planted them here because I never used that part of the garden at one time. And just a few years ago, these are prime arc blackberries. They got like the size of my thumb. They're a great big blackberry. You don't find them in the stores because they don't ship well. They ripen, these great big, very flavorful, very juicy blackberries. But they take up so much space. They are thornless, thank goodness. But I moved a whole bunch of them back to the back, way down there, where that herb garden where the mint is that I told you about. All those blackberries back there. These are the ones that came from, and obviously, when I dug up the 5 original plants, there were plenty more there. So, I grew corn back here against the fence last year. I'd like to do that whole block as corn. It does get really sunny in the summer, even though it isn't at the moment. But now I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to dig those up and get rid of them, or plant them back in the back, not get rid of them, or if I'm just going to let these stay here. I do harvest immature blackberry leaves for tea because I love it with tea. Immature blackberry leaves dried with a cinnamon stick and some blackberry fruit in a pot of tea is my favorite tea. So jury's out on what I'm going to do, but I do have a story about these that is a hopeful story for those of you who have ever grown blackberries and gotten rust. Now, the first year I bought these, I think I bought them off of Amazon. I bought these. I was specifically looking for prime arc blackberries, so that's what I bought. And that first year, they were covered in rust. And that kind of rust where they tell you you have to pull them out and burn them, and you can't plant blackberries in that area again for eons, and all these really horrible, scary stories. And these were, let me tell you, I've got pictures. If I can find one, I'll post one for you here. But they were covered front and back in rust. Well, I cut these suckers down to the ground and I started spraying them with copper fungicide. And I kept that up every week for the whole season, cut them right down and kept spraying them. And you know, these came back this past year, and the year before that actually, they came back perfectly fine. I haven't seen one speckle of rust since. I do know enough to keep them up off the ground and keep good airflow and keep them thinned down to help prevent rust. But I've had not only have I not had any rust problems with them, the berries they give us typically is overloaded. There's so much fruit on them. So if that happens to you and you do have a rust problem and you don't have a lot of other berries in your yard to be worried about, these are blackberries. Those down there are raspberries at the very end. But they weren't affected. So if that happens to you, it's worth trying, cutting them down, spraying them with a lot of copper, and seeing if that will work for you. Unless you have a lot of other berries and you're afraid they'll infect them. These were all rusty. They were orange. They weren't even green. They were orange. It was so bad. All right, so this side of the trellis, there's some kale you can see right there. This is usually covered in blue lake or some other kind of green bean. Or I will do green beans on one side going over, and on the other side coming this way, I'll do something like Armenian cucumbers. And this, like I said, was corn. I grew corn to be ornamental. I ended up with 40 ears of corn. Absolutely was not expecting to have corn for my freezer, but I was. Now, can we talk about the elephant in the garden? Okay, see that? That is obviously the kind of mirror that you put on the top of a dresser. I tried to give it away. Nobody wanted it. Just gift it to anybody who would want it. Nobody wanted it. And I didn't want to throw the glass away, so I had my husband stick it there. My intention is to put it up on blocks, tie it to the fence so it won't fall over, and let it weather. And it's already weathering. It was a nice, beautiful honey oak color. So it's already weathering. And just leaving it there because I like the glass of it. And I grow a bunch of sunflowers in here, and then sweet potatoes. And then the rest of this is all sunflowers. And it just looks like a pretty little haven. So there it is. I know it's funny, but let's see what happens next spring and see what that looks like then. All right, see that? That was part of a clothing rack. But it was the perfect shape for runner beans. And I put runner beans on there and grow them on there. And they're fantastic. That works like the best trellis ever. It's very rusty now. It will probably go in the trash in another year or two. But for right now, it didn't have to go in the landfill. It serves a great purpose for my garden, and I'm happy with that. There's a plant pot sitting right there, see? It grows flowers in it, but what you see underneath it, that stack of wood, that is a bug hotel. I have it set up. You'll see there's gaps. I don't know if you can see from here. Gaps in the wood. And those gaps are for, it's all like that on all four sides. There's some gaps. It is one of my resident bug hotels. I do have 2 masonry bee hives around the other side of the shed. So if you go around this side of the shed this way, where that work table is, and the genom tank is there, right on the wall right there, there are 2 masonry beehives there. So I do try to encourage pollinators, and I do plant a lot of flowers in this garden too, as well. The view here is always kind of funny because you see a lot of wire, and that's from my trellises. The trellises go this way down here. So I have an arch here. It's about 8 feet tall, maybe. It's a 16-foot panel that's arched, so it may be 7 feet tall, but I'm only 5 feet too. So I have an arch there. I have an arch here at the front where these steps go up, and then on the other side where we came in, there's another arch. I love growing vertical. If I could grow everything vertical, I would. And if I could put an arch everywhere in here, I would. But of course it would block all the sun, and I wouldn't have a lot of sun on the ground for plants to grow. And for me, I don't have a place nearby that sells these cattle panels. I have to go about an hour away to get them, and I don't have a truck. I have a small 2-seater mini 2-seater roadster convertible. That's what I drive. So in blue, it's a baby blue car. If I turn this way, you can almost see it right there. That's my car. It's a little 2-seater mini roadster, so I can't put a 16-foot panel in it. And my husband drives a Dodge Charger, which you can just kind of see right there if I do that. So that won't hold it either. And even if it had enough room, he wouldn't put that in his Charger. So not that I'd ask him to. So anyway, that's our yard. That's my garden tour. There's the chicken coop just below our sunroom that has a lot of stuff stacked. This corner of my sunroom has a big dog crate, and then right in front of the dog crate there's a pile of boxes that belong to one of my children. My daughter lives out of state, and I have all this storage stuff that's hers that she needs to come get, but it's too long a ride for her to come get them for any time soon. So yeah, so next to the asparagus bed, I've thought about putting another bed there. I might do that next spring, we'll see. But otherwise, this is my vegetable gardening space, including the back row of the fence going that way. That corner, herbs over there by the stairs, right there, coming down, herbs there. And then we have a lot of greenery out front. We have a lot of really pretty flower gardens out front, but I don't plant food out front except sunchokes. I do have one area out front with sunchokes. So that is my story. So that's my garden tour for the day before Thanksgiving 2024. Thanks for joining me. As always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares, your subscribing. It helps so much for me to keep doing this, and I love it. It's really fun to share this community with you. It's a great community. There's plenty of room for everybody. No matter what size yard you have, even if you have no yard at all, you can urban or micro homestead right where you're standing, and I want to help you to do that. I want to help inspire you to grow some of your own food or herbs or flowers. I want to inspire you to know that whatever age you are, wherever you are in life, whatever you've got for property around you, again, if you have a closet and a grow light, you can grow food for yourself. I'll see you next time. Take care.